Yo, what is going on guys, it's Cryptic TMG and I'm back with a brand new video. Well, not sort of a brand new video, this was a race a few weeks ago from Zolder and the AOR GT3 Elite Championship. I think this was round 8 I think we missed out Zoo High because that was the day the patch came out, so I'm not sure if we're going to be doing Zoo High again, I doubt it. So only 9 races this season, but yeah, this is the race that we had from Zolder, and yeah, it was a pretty good race. The weather was set to half dry and the second half of the race would be wet, so yeah, it was a pretty tricky race. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to get this video out. To be honest, I lost so much motivation for this game just with the silly glitches and bugs and stuff like that, and I just had no motivation to really push the videos out. But at the end of the day, I still got to do what I got to do. But yeah, it was a good race. And yeah, this is my best qualifying effort. And before this, I thought the car felt pretty good, especially around the first sector. And yeah, I thought I could really push the car through these corners. But anyway, I'll let you guys watch the lap. So we thought we had provisional pole, but we ended up getting pipped by Ronaldo. And I think mainly for me, it was probably the middle sector. I didn't really attack that chicane enough. Not the first one, the second one. I think I could have got a little bit more on the curb, and that would have given us at least like maybe a 0.8 or 0.7 in the middle, and I think that would have been enough to get pole. But anyway, I was pretty happy with where I qualified. Managed to out-qualify CJ and Walter in the Ferrari. So for the first time, I think it was a non-Ferrari front row. I don't think we've had that before in AOR. So yeah, pretty happy with that. And obviously it was more to figure out what kind of setup I was going to go with for this race, because obviously with half of the race being wet and the other half being dry, you don't really know what's the best sort of solution to the problem. But I went sort of with more of a wet setup, so I thought, but this will be the first time I'll be driving a wet setup in after the patch, so wasn't too sure what to make of it. And as per usual at the start of the race, the car, it wasn't bad, it felt decent, but at the same time there was sort of a few corners where I had to catch the car every lap, and I just didn't have any confidence. Like a lot of the time through the first corner, I'd sort of just ease it through instead of really being able to attack. And obviously with these chicanes as well, where you're not allowed to cut and you've got to be really careful. Obviously AOR are very strict with the corner cutting rules, so had to be a little bit careful going through the chicane. And you can see on the first lap we just completely brake way too deep and get it wrong. So we've already cut once, and yeah, it was such a difficult chicane, and there was so much problems afterwards and stewards inquiries, especially on the PC side of things, with people cutting the chicane and stuff like that. And it is a really hard chicane not to cut, especially if you make a mistake and you just brake a tad bit too late. But anyway, you can see Ronaldo already pulling away, and I just at the start of the race just did not have the confidence to go with him. CJ's already up to 3rd place, he qualified in 4th, and yeah, so we've got CJ on the back of us, but it's a pretty hard track to overtake, especially if the person in front's not making any mistakes. And I was sort of just trying to get my rhythm together, but as I said, I just felt the car I could just feel it. If I pushed it too hard, the car would just be sideways. And at the moment, because we're on, I believe it was on the soft tyres as well, and it was all a bit new, to be honest, because with the soft tyres, you can make them last as long as the track's cool enough, but if you start getting your car sideways, then they overheat and it's really hard to get the temperature back to where you want it. So I was trying to make sure I was pushing, but still trying to be a little bit conservative through the fast corners. And you can see through turn 1 where we just haven't got the confidence. You can see how much CJ is actually catching us, and he's like sticking his nose everywhere trying to get past us. We see we touch the curb there, we get sideways, he gets around the outside of us, and really at this point in time, it's just we clearly couldn't go with Ronaldo. So it was all about just defending second place. Obviously CJ championship leader, I think I was in second, so I was just trying to defend, even though you got a pretty big lead in the championship, but it was just worth having a bit of a race instead of just letting them go. And managed to negotiate the chicane cleanly that time. As I said, it was really hard to get through that chicane properly, but Ronaldo just pulling out heaps of time at the moment. I'm completely holding up CJ. I think that's K-Slay on the back of CJ as well. So obviously we're backing CJ up into K-Slay unintentionally, just so we just don't have the pace at the minute. And I just knew as long as I can get certain corners with a good exit, I knew he's really going to struggle to get past. And I think there's someone we're coming up to lap already. I'm not sure who that is. I don't have the name identification, so it's pretty hard to figure out who people are. But yeah, CJ's still behind us, and K-Slay now right in the back of him, so now he's got something to think about as well. And yeah, in my mind I was thinking, oh, I kind of need K-Slay to get past CJ, because then maybe I can sort of try and get my head down and try and stretch my legs a bit. But even so, my tyres are heating up pretty nicely now, and yeah, it's just one of them races where, you know, you got to spend most of your time looking in the rear view mirror instead of looking up ahead. Ronaldo pulled out quite a big gap pretty quickly, but you can see now K-Slay really on the back of CJ. We outbrake ourselves through the chicane, and CJ is right up behind us, almost pushing us through the corners now. And yeah, it was to be honest, it was a really fun race. It was a really fun race, and I was just hoping that I hope to God my pace in the wet is a lot better, because previously in the wet the Renault was pretty good. I remember a Red Bull Ring was the only other wet race we had, and I felt like the pace was pretty strong, especially at a track where the Ferrari was a lot stronger than the Renault at the Red Bull Ring. But I think the rain sort of evened things out just a little bit, made it a little bit easier to stick with him, because had it been a hot dry race, seriously the Renault was probably over a second off the Ferrari at Red Bull Ring. So yeah, I thought if we can just get to the rain in this position, then we should be okay, especially with, I remember Ronaldo really struggling in the wet at Red Bull Ring. So I thought definitely we're just going to try and stick it out. As I said, I went for more of a wet setup anyway, or a wet setup with what I thought. I wasn't even too sure that it worked, because I didn't even really try the rain, to be honest. And obviously all this was sort of after the patch, so I wasn't too sure how because the tyres have definitely changed quite a lot, I would say. I've noticed quite a lot in the way that the tyres have changed since their last patch. I've noticed even when you go on the curbs with the tyres, that the curbs seem to now pull you off the track completely, and it's like almost all curbs. But you can see K-Slay gets a run on CJ and sticks it down the inside. I was surprised he went for it. It was a pretty bold move. And yeah, I think CJ gets the position back, but I think he gets a little bit of oversteer on the corner exit. I think K-Slay passes him down the straight into turn 1, and I saw that, I was like, wow, K-Slay's going to be flying. And then he gets sideways, and I think he bins it as soon as he passes CJ, and that was a critical moment of the race, because if people don't know, the Porsche in the wet is absolutely rapid. It's got crazy grip in the wet. So yeah, that was another sort of, it was almost a good and a bad thing. It was good that he was in front of CJ, but it was bad if he managed to stay there in the wet. And you can see that we get sideways there, and then we try to catch him. We just knocked CJ off the track, so I slowed down to wait for him and make sure I didn't like just pull away and stuff like that. And yeah, it was probably my bad there, because we were going side by side, but I got a little bit of a tank slapper on. I had to try and catch it, and obviously I hit the front of his car. I don't think he hit the wall, but I think he did pick up like 1% damage on the front. So yeah, but I did wait for him, because obviously like it would have been a bit out of order to just push him off and just carry on. So like now you see Ronaldo's gaps are even bigger, and I think Ronaldo at front, I think he was just cruising, taking it easy, making sure he wasn't cutting and stuff like that. And you can see CJ all over, especially through that chicane. The Ferrari is a lot more stable through sort of the bumps and the rough parts of the track, that he can just get straight on the throttle. With me, I gotta make sure I hit that curb exactly right, or else I'm gonna be spinning off. So I was a little bit tentative coming out of that chicane, and yeah, it was just, that's where he was all over me the most. In qualifying, you can see I was really fast in the first sector, and that's where my advantage lay on this track. But in the race, because I was getting so much oversteer through the first sector, I couldn't actually go fast in the part of the circuit where I was fastest at. So it was kind of always putting me under pressure. And now you can see CJ spent 10 laps behind me, still no way through. He's seeing Ronaldo disappear down the road, so he's just trying to think, where am I going to overtake him, where can I line him up? And me, I'm trying to brake later into turn 1, well, not brake later, but take a wider entrance into turn 1 so it doesn't snap on the apex so much. But still the car just doesn't want to turn, and I'm constantly giving CJ a run. But because I'm holding the inside line, and he's got a pretty much, it's almost like 3 corners where he's got to go around the outside, so it's pretty difficult for him to get around there. You can see he gets a good run out of that corner right on the back of us. But going into this chicane, there's only one line for the chicane, so whoever's leading before the chicane, that's pretty much job done. And we go through it really slowly, and it obviously makes him slow down as well. And we're just losing time at the end of the day. We're all losing time, but at the end of the day, it's a race, and I've got to try and protect my position, even if it's not for the win. You've always got to fight, as long as you do it cleanly. But yeah, it was a good race. I don't think I've ever spent a race looking back or looking in my rear view mirror as much as I did this one, because it was just constant pressure. But I felt comfortable in the way that I knew where he was fastest, I knew where he had an advantage over me, so I just knew all I got to do is get an exit, all I got to do is make sure I'm on the right hand side after turn 2, and he's going to struggle to pass me, because other than that there's no real place to pass. And unless he's going to try like a crazy dive bomb, but obviously in the Renault you can brake pretty late as well, so it was going to be tough. And I thought at this moment it's going to come down to all about when you pit for the wets, who gets in on the right lap, who makes that decision, and that's who's going to sort of come out on top. And hopefully I'd have the pace in the wet to at least hold them off the same way I was holding them off in the dry. But who knows, as I said, we didn't really practice the wet, we just sort of practiced the dry. And as I said, because of just like a few instances, what happened at Long Beach with the wheel just switched off and I went into the wall, the motivation's just not there in a minute. I know the championship was really gone anyway, so we're just racing for racing's sake in a minute. But yeah, so we haven't been doing as much practice as we normally would, especially not as much as we did at the start of the season when everything was fresh and it was all exciting and stuff. But to be honest, a lot of the bugs I've been getting have been winding me up, so just the same motivation just not there, if you know what I mean. But we'll still race, we'll still play the game, no problem. But we're just not going to put as much time in as we would before. You see CJ almost takes us out there, right behind us, really braking late into that corner. I just made sure I always got a good exit coming into the last corner. You can see me changing the brake bias because of how sketchy the car is under braking, how much the rear keeps coming around. And that's something that's always weird to me, is when you practice and none of these things happen. You can nail it everywhere, the car's handling fine, none of these things happen, and you get into the race and it's just like a complete shock to your system that the car just seems to have just completely changed. And yeah, it's just things like that which I don't understand about this game. I really don't. So I always find it, especially in a race, I find it extremely hard to really push and to really ring it. And in terms of like the racing, I honestly preferred Project Cars 1 in the way that I knew how the car reacted once we got into a race. That's what I think I prefer about P-Cars 1, when I knew I could push, and if I wanted to back off and sort of not rinse my tyres, then I could do that as well. But I knew when I started pushing I could make a difference. But on this game I feel like you can push and you can feel like you've done a good lap, made no mistakes, hit every apex, and you could be sort of 6 tenths down, and then on another lap you can be sketchy all over the place and you end up being like 3 or 4 tenths quicker. So it's very weird. I think just the grip levels in general in a race are just, I don't know. I think the soft tires have made it better, definitely made it better, but it's just the grip level seems to vary. 1 minute is fine, or varies from lobby to lobby, should I say, even if the settings are the same. I've recently done lobbies where I can't even get sort of at a certain time, maybe if I'm getting like say a 138, and I'll be in practice doing 138 to 138, then I'll go into a lobby that's full of people and I won't even be able to, I'll barely be able to get a 39, and then in another lobby I'll be in the 37s. So it's very weird, it's very weird, but yeah, it's just one of them things, I guess, with P cars. I notice it when you do like default setups, it seems to be very consistent. When you do default setups, the track temps and the track sort of conditions seem to be very consistent. But when you start throwing setups on the car, it just seems to just be a little bit odd. But we still got CJ behind us. We've still been sort of just putting our car in all the right places, and CJ still hasn't managed to get past us. But as I said, Ronaldo is absolutely gone. You can see us again. We get just the car, we touched the curb and all of a sudden it was the most slipperiest thing ever. When I'd be nailing that curb throughout quali, I'd be nailing that curb throughout practice, and just nothing, no problems. But I think you can see there on the screen that it's starting to rain. The rain's starting to come down. We are coming up to halfway through the race, and you can see that the track is getting just a little bit greasy, and this was the time where the race was going to be won or lost. Even though Ronaldo is quite a long way down the road, if he was to get the decision or the lap wrong, when to pit for the wet tires, then he could be easily reeled in. You could easily lose sort of 5-6 seconds just by making a wrong decision and staying on the wets too long. And even with the weather, when we was practicing, the weather was coming in at different times. Even though the settings were the same, some people were getting rain sort of 10 minutes into the race, other people were getting rain 10 minutes from the end of the race. So it was a weird one. Like we weren't always practicing the same, like the same thing wasn't happening, even though the conditions were set exactly the same. So it was hard to know when was the right time to pit. It was hard to know when, like how long it's going to take for the track to be wet enough to actually change over to wets, because you don't want to go on the wets too early and burn them out before the track is even in the right condition. But you can see in a minute Ronaldo's got a 2-second penalty. I was hoping hopefully he gets the decision wrong when to pit. Hopefully CJ gets the decision wrong when to pit, and hopefully I'll get it right, and that's what I was banking on. But you can see now it's really greasy. I'm taking a lot of precautions. This is his chance for him to get in front and make hay while he can. He tries to go around the outside again, but obviously it's really hard to get around that corner, especially as you can carry so much speed through it on the inside. There's nowhere really to go from the outside. And I was just thinking, well, I just got to hang on, don't make any mistakes, which I think I've been pretty good so far this season. I haven't really made any mistakes. I've never spun or anything like that, not like season 8 where I spun at literally every single round. So I don't know whether it's the car or whether it's just being able to notice a bit quicker when you're going to lose it and being able to react before it happens, because there's been plenty of times where I could have spun, but managed just to sort of keep it on the black stuff, and in the end that's what sort of helped me in the championship, because as long as you don't make any mistakes, you're pretty good. But yeah, it's been a decent championship for me personally, I think. Obviously trying to beat CJ in a Ferrari is going to be tough. Trying to beat anyone in a Ferrari is going to be tough. And I think if Carl had raced more races, then I think it would have been even worse. I don't think I'd be in second in the championship, because whenever Carl's tended to race, he's either won or finished in the top 2. I think there's only one race he didn't win that he finished, and that was Kota. But I think every other time he races, I think he wins. So it would have been very difficult to beat CJ and Carl in Ferraris. But as long as I could stay consistent, then I'd be happy. I was happy enough just to be competing. But at the end of the day, you still strive for race wins and stuff like that. But you can see at the moment Like, I felt like Ronaldo wasn't really getting away as much anymore now that we'd settled in and now that the rain was coming down a bit. So that made me a little bit hopeful that, wow, maybe this guy's really going to struggle in the wet. Maybe his car's just not suited to the wet weather, especially around a track like this, which is quite tight and twisty. And the Lambo is sort of a car that's made for straight line speed. But this track is really low altitude. I think one of the lowest on the game. I think Zoo High is the lowest on the game, but this track also is quite low. So the NA cars, with the naturally aspirated engines, are pretty fast around tracks like this, but there isn't a lot of them on the calendar. A lot of the tracks are sort of high altitude, mid altitude, which the turbos are always still going to have a sort of a slight advantage. And you can see the haze of the rain coming across the track now. It's definitely getting wetter and wetter and wetter. So yeah, it was really difficult conditions, and especially knowing, like, can I push this lap? Is this the lap where the track's just going to be super greasy and catch me out? So you're trying to sort of push, but then you're trying to stay sort of conservative at the same time, because you can end up binning it. You saw how late CJ broke for that corner. I wasn't as confident to get on the brakes that late because I didn't really know whether the car was going to stop in time. And obviously with me being the car in front trying to keep someone behind, I can't afford to sort of go deep into a corner, because obviously then he'll be able to attack me. And yeah, this wasn't the time where I wanted to sort of be braving out on the brakes when the track's like half wet, half dry and stuff like that. But there was still a reasonable amount of grip, but you can see CJ there gets a little bit of a oversteer moment coming out the corner. So that just shows you how tricky the conditions were. And we're still pushing on, and as I said, not really losing any time to Ronaldo anymore. So I thought I've got a decent chance here, and hopefully I've got the wet setup right. It was pretty much untested. I just sort of softened the car, and I thought that's gotta work. It's technically what you're supposed to do: soften the car, get more mechanical grip, and when it starts raining, I should be able to push. And yeah, that was my hope anyway for the race. But obviously since the patch, I've noticed the Renault is a lot more oversteery, and it's a lot more prone to oversteery moments, where before the patch I'd say the Renault was probably the most stable GT3 car, easily. But since the patch, it's still stable, but it tends to have sort of oversteery moments where you, like my setups, I had to change to sort of get the car handling the way I wanted to handle. I couldn't sort of do the same things anymore. I couldn't sort of make the back end stiff and the front end soft to really get the car turning into corners. But CJ right behind us now, and I think he just misses his braking and smashes into the back of us and puts us across the gravel. And yeah, that was more time to Ronaldo that we really couldn't afford to lose. And obviously I think CJ spun off and hit the wall or something like that, so he's gonna have to sort of pit. And we stayed out for a few laps afterwards, and you can see the track is pretty wet now, pretty treacherous, so we're having to really be careful through these corners, and we end up pitting at the end of that lap. And yeah, I was just hoping to God that the car felt good. And I think where I actually did something wrong is I put when I did the pit stop strategy, I put the tyre pressures all the way down. I think I can't remember what I did, but I almost driving to the wrong pit there. But you see on the exit out, I'm trying to just get out on track and make sure that I'm still in contact with Ronaldo, but Ronaldo hasn't actually pitted yet. I think he was still going around. I'm not too sure. But you see CJ is quite a way behind us, and I could tell you already at first the car didn't feel too bad, but it just seemed to just get so slippery, and it's just like had no grip in the tyres whatsoever. And I was just sort of sliding, aquaplaning everywhere, and CJ was actually starting to hunt us down really quickly. Obviously he lost a lot of time when he went off. After he hit us, I think he ended up in the barrier facing the wrong way or something like that. But there was just no grip whatsoever. The car was literally, it felt like I was just skating across the surface, and the tyres just wouldn't dig into the surface to actually get any grip going through the corners. So CJ is just hunting us down in a minute. We're not really catching Ronaldo either, and the pace just wasn't there. The car felt horrible. I couldn't take the chicane properly. I couldn't brake. It was just so slow. And I could feel it. I could actually feel how slow the car was, and I was just getting frustrated driving and sort of holding on to the car every time I went into a corner, thinking like, is it going to spin me? Is it going to spin me? And that's not sort of what you want in the wet. You want to be able to sort of be comfortable with your driving, but for me it was anything but, and I could just feel the car getting worse. At first it started off decent, but as it went on, it was just had nothing there. And even the temperatures, the tire temps they were okay. It wasn't like my tires were blue and I had no grip. It literally, the tire temperatures, the heat looked okay, but it was literally just like driving on ice. And this was the first time in the wet for me since the patch, and I really felt the difference compared to Red Bull Ring, where I felt the car handled pretty sweetly. And I was just thinking now, well, 6 laps to go, I should be able to hold on. But if you look at the time and how quick CJ's catching us, it wasn't looking too good. And I felt like the rain was getting worse and worse and worse. And I could sort of like feel the track conditions changing by the corner, sort of the aquaplaning, the way that the puddles were sort of starting to grow a little bit. And that is the one thing I do like about the Live Track 3.0, especially in the rain, is the way the way how you can sort of feel more rain on the track, and as opposed to like other games where if it's raining it's just the same sort of conditions the whole way through. So you get really used to how the track feels in the wet. But in this game you can't ever really get 100% used to how it feels, because it's forever changing, it's forever getting worse. And obviously because the race started off dry, you could really notice the difference. And yeah, as I said, for me the car was just getting worse and worse and worse, and you'll see I'm pretty much just sliding through that chicane now. There's just no grip, and I just wasn't sure whether I got my tyre pressures wrong, or whether it was just the setup completely just didn't work. But yeah, for some reason it was just, the car felt really bad. I was so surprised, because I thought sort of the second half of the race was more my chance, because I know in the past that the Renault RS01 has been pretty good in the rain. But you can see CJ really hunting us down in a minute, and we're just losing time. You can see even on the straights we're aquaplaning, and that's what I thought, no, there's got to be something wrong with this setup, because I'm driving in a straight line and I can feel the car sort of wobbling from side to side. And I mean, the rain, it's not as if it's a thunderstorm, it's not as if the track is like drenched, but it just seems just catching me out, man. I'm doing 45.4s. I'm not too sure what the pace of the other guys were doing, but I think I've probably set my tire pressures wrong, even though the temperature seemed pretty good. The temperature is slightly dropping off now, but they are still sort of in range. And yeah, just very weird. And you can see how much CJ's closed us down. With only 2 laps to go now, he's really closed the gap really quickly. And yeah, we just had nothing. It was pretty much, if he caught us, I just knew there's no real defending it, because I've just got nothing to defend it with. I just don't have the grip. He's going to be able to out accelerate me pretty easily, and I had no braking. It was crazy. It was crazy. And at this point I was just thinking, just don't bin it and completely throw away a podium. That's what I was thinking. If I could hold him back, then I definitely would try. But you can see we're down to first gear through the chicane just to get it slowed down in time, because otherwise we just end up going straight across and cutting the corner completely. But over that little crest there, it was really dodgy. The car used to get really light, and yeah, it was just crazy. But you can see there, we tried to brake, put it down to first gear, and it's just the car just won't even slow down anymore. At this point, I pretty much knew that the game was up. My only hope was the fact that he had a 1 second penalty, so if I can hold him back for long enough and he doesn't sort of escape to more than 1 second, then I'll still get the second position. But it was just super tough. You see, we outbrake ourselves there. We're struggling so much on the brakes, and CJ already side by side of us, and yeah, this is going to be tough. But we're actually quicker than him down the straight, which is, you don't see it all the time. I braked pretty late, but I wasn't too sure if I'd be able to outbrake him, and I couldn't. But I think he backs out of it just a little bit, and I was thinking, I hope the car even stops, because I'm going to end up wiping us both out. But onto the last lap, I managed to hold him off there despite the mistakes. But the first corner I struggled massively with. when it started raining. So you can see he clearly drives all the way around the outside, and he had so much more pace at this stage, and I was just struggling so much, and the cars are sliding everywhere sliding. He's literally having to brake in a straight line. You can see how much understeer we've got going through that corner. We couldn't even turn, even though we was right on the inside. It literally took the whole track just to get it around that corner, and yeah, at this point it was just like, wow, there's no way I'm keeping within a second, because the grip's just, it's totally not there. If we had any more laps in this race, I would have been struggling to get a podium, to be honest with you. And you can see by the end of the lap how much time he's managed to pull out. I actually had to put traction control on, and I would never advise to put traction control on in the rain, because for me it just slows you down so much, but the car was so sketchy, it was crazy. So we come home in third position behind CJ and Ronaldo, who took the win. And yeah, it wasn't too bad. I would have liked to have had more pace in general, especially in the rain. But it is what it is. And yeah, it was quite a good race, especially in the dry, until we had that sort of incident with CJ just before the pit stops. And other than that, pretty good race. Next race will be at Bathurst, so I'll get that video up as soon as I can. But anyway, it's Cryptic TMG. Like and subscribe, hit the notification bell to catch my videos first, and peace. Yo, what is going on, guys? It's Cryptic TMG here. If you're already one of my subscribers but still want to show me more support, hit the PayPal donate button and donate however much you think my content is worth to you. Thanks for your support, thanks for watching my videos, and peace.